All right, everybody, this is Brian Ray with Vortex Weather, and thank you for tuning in to the first of a series of videos that will demonstrate the features of Vortex Weather. I'd first like to introduce one of my favorite features. This is the 3D Hurricane Viewer. And to enable this feature, first you basically just load up an active storm or an investigation area that may be out there. So to do that, you'll go up to this left sidebar rail, and you'll go into the tropical cyclone section. Under active storms, we should populate whatever is currently active out there. And currently we do have a category 3 cyclone that is in the southern Pacific Ocean. So let me toggle this on. And as we can see, it's off the northwest coast of Australia. So the next thing we need to do is basically turn on the Hurricane Model Viewer, which is the HAFS Hurricane Tropical Model. This tropical model has basically two domains. One is the parent domain, which is a little bit lower resolution, and the other is the storm domain, which has a much higher resolution. And for this demo, we're specifically going to be looking at the storm domain because of that higher resolution. So what you do is in this hurricane model HAFS section, you click on this, it will provide you a drop-down list of the available storms that the model is currently tracking, and you select which one you want to look at. So currently we are viewing that storm off the northwest coast of Australia. So 27P is active. So we'll select that. So once we have it active, this whole section of model data appears below it, but we'll go into that in some other video. This is other features of that HAFS model. But specifically, this video is geared towards the 3D viewer. So let me close this out now. And what you do is you right click on the screen anywhere and you select 3D Hurricane Viewer. This menu item is present now since we actually selected the specific storm, which is 27P, which is in the Southern Hemisphere. So once you select that, you will see that it's currently trying to download um, the model data from our servers. And what this is the HAFS model data that is basically that's being parsed and pulled in and bring in the wind data and stuff like that. So what we have now is our hurricane viewer, and it's totally interactive. Basically has compass directions, west is to the left, south is here, and you can zoom in, zoom out of this feature by just dragging the cursor around. All right, so what we're looking at here is basically the ISO surface of the wind fields. So the green area represents tropical storm force winds, so basically 34 knots. And you can change the opacity of it to make it much thicker and darker if you want. But I recommend kind of leaving the settings as pretty much what they are so you can actually have that transparent look to it. And also you can actually toggle off each one of these wind fields if you want to kind of see what the inner core may look like. I'll turn it back on for now. So basically, what you can look at is the height levels on the right-hand side here. So basically, the height going up in altitude in feet, in thousands of feet. And so basically, you can see it's this storm of the data that we're pulling in. We're pulling in up to 200 millibars of height data. And so this is the top of the model presentation itself. Additionally, what we can do is you can adjust the vertical scale if it doesn't fit your screen the way you want. You can adjust the scene position up or down. So if you wanted to expand the storm vertically, you can use this slider bar and it kind of expands it, but then you can't see the top. So what you can do is you can adjust it down, or you can use your mouse cursor to zoom in, zoom out. So basically, all I mean is tune this down a little bit so we can have a better representation. All right, next we have multiple features that we can look at as far as what the HAFS model provides us with analyzing the storm. One of the first ones at the top here, as you can see, is the isobars. So these are currently turned on. As you can see down here at the bottom of the storm, these are actually pressure isobars, and they're currently at every 2 millibars. These are dynamic, so what you can do is you can click it and adjust these to 2 or 4, whatever you desire. Really strong storms, you probably want to leave it at 2 or 4 because 1 gets to be really, really tight on the isobars. And you can also toggle this feature off if you don't want to see it. I think it's pretty cool, so I'll leave it as is. All right, the next feature is, the compass. It's always a good idea to leave that on. So really, it's just a generic feature that probably always going to be left on. And also the height labels that are over here on the right-hand side, you can turn those off and on. The next primary feature is 3D wind barbs. So if you toggle this feature on, what you will see is you have a barb density slider, and you also have what pressure level you want to see those wind barbs. So for example, I have the surface wind barbs toggled on currently. And as you can see now with the HAFS model, that we have basically those wind barbs surrounding the storm. And you can zoom in and kind of see the higher winds as you get closer to the core. And additionally, what you can do is change the, or toggle on, I'm sorry, toggle on other altitudes. So that is a surface. Let's say I want to also look at the 500 millibar level. So I toggle that on, and those wind barbs will show up also. Obviously, this is more upwards towards 18 to 20,000 feet. So you can zoom out and you can actually see that wind barb layer there shown. And you can also tilt it down and see the circulation around the 500 millibar level. And actually, if you tilt it all the way, you can actually see the inner core of the storm all the way down to the surface. So that just kind of shows you it's a not very tilted storm. It's a very symmetrical as far as the inner core goes, and that basically represents a good, healthy, strong storm. And as you can see here, as you go out, you can toggle in, toggle off, zoom in, zoom out, and any pressure level you want to look at. So if you want to see, for example, just the outflow of the storm itself, you can actually toggle on the 200 millibar level, and that should appear. Let me toggle on the 250. There we go. Maybe the 200 wasn't available on this run. But you can see the wind barbs and the flow as it goes around the 250 millibar level. All right, next feature is, besides the 3D wind barbs, let me turn that off for a second so we can kind of keep it decluttered, is a reflectivity. So what this is actually the model-generated radar reflectivity product, and it's at the surface. So what I'd have to do to actually see it very well is probably turn off this 34 knot wind area and basically make sure these are maxed out, the brightness and the opacity. And it's a little bit hard to see, but as you can see, as you go down here, this is the actual, you can see the interpreted model-generated radar reflectivity, and here's a particular feeder band or rain band that's associated with that storm. All right, next feature is the wind particles. So basically what this is wind particles that kind of simulate the circulation around the storm. It's more of a gee whiz type feature, but it is pretty cool. So basically you have a couple of different settings here. One is you can get a different particle color based on the altitude. So you can see the greens are more closer to the ground, and the reds and the purples are more towards the upper part of the actual storm itself. So you can actually kind of see the actual circulation in and around the storm itself, and you can adjust the speed of it, of the wind particles, and also you can color it by speed. So if you want to see where the highest winds are, you can color it by speed, and obviously once you get into that area, you get your legend over here on the right-hand side that kind of color codes and shows you that. I personally like the altitude one, but that's totally up to you. All right, so we've already talked about the vertical scale and also the scene position, which basically expands, contracts the vertical scene, and also adjust up and down the scene itself. So let me turn off these wind particles, and we will go into the next feature here, and that is surface smoothing. So basically, how smooth do you want this ISO surface to be? Let me go back up here and turn on the 34 knot wind area. And as you can see here, if I go into low, basically it's a little less smooth on the edges of the ISO surface of the winds. Or if you go all the way to high, it really tries to smooth it out. And here it's kind of a lot smoother, but you lose a little bit of detail when you do that also. So it's really up to your preference on what you want to do. And what's really cool is you can actually see the higher level winds, basically this darker red color, which is effectively Category 4 winds. They're not at the surface; they're above the surface, but you can actually see what is at the surface according to this model. And let me adjust this scene position a little bit so I can get here. So basically, you can see some of the orange and some of the lighter red. So that would be these two colors here, which is category 2 and Category 3, which matches pretty well with Joint Typhoons Warning Center's forecast advisory, what they're showing there also. All right, and pretty much the last feature that I wanted to show you here is what you're currently looking at is a snapshot in time. So basically what you could do is down here to this drop-down menu, you can either toggle to the next forecast hour, or you can actually use the drop-down and say, hey, what does this look like whenever I go out 24 hours into the future? So if you're expecting the storm to intensify, then maybe you want to see what that kind of looks like. And once you select that model, it has to re-download that data and regenerate that scene for you. Then you can actually see that, oh, now, hey, it looks like there's a really strong core of this medium red. It's not the orange. The orange is actually at the surface too, but this red category 3 is still there, and it's mainly concentrated around, it looks like probably the eastern side of the storm as it relates to the compass direction. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up this feature. And again, you can go all the way out to 120 hours, but this currently is still processing model data, so it's not quite populated fully yet. And these models do run every 6 hours based on the 0Z, 06, 18Z, or I'm sorry, 12Z and 18Z model runs. So after every run, about approximately 4 hours after the run time, you'll start to see this data start populating so you can look at those features. All right, that sums up the third 3D hurricane viewer, and I'd really like to hear your feedback and what you think about it, and any suggestions and ways to improve it. Please let me know. One thing I do want to note: this is considered a pro feature. It is not. So I have basically 3 tiers. You have a basic free tier, or you have a free tier, which basically has you the basic capabilities of tracking a storm or displaying radar or something like that. Then you have the basic tier, which gives you more capabilities as far as tropical cyclone tracking, such as spaghetti models, and some other metrics related to how accurate those spaghetti models are, but that's going to be a totally different video. Then the Pro tier has some of these advanced features, like the 3D viewer for hurricanes. I also have a 3D viewer for actual thunderstorms, where it takes a NexRad volume composite and actually dissects that and creates a 3D representation of a storm. And that's pretty cool too. And it works the same way. You kind of pan, zoom, and tilt as you see fit. All right, well, that concludes this demo. So again, please give me feedback if you have any. And